call the virtual meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee to order today. I'm going to do a roll call since I can't see everybody. So I'm going to start. Kathy?
Here.
John Hobold?
Here.
Terry Burke?
Here.
Lisa Vines? Lisa Vines doesn't appear to be on. Harry Stanabine?
Here.
And Lou Mancuso?
Here.
Okay, and I'm not getting all the participant names on there. So are there any, Lisa just told me she's logging in right now. So that will make a full complement of the board here. I'd also like to know if any other board members are present. If you are, please speak up. Any other of the governing board members here? Okay. None appear to be here. Everyone has seen the minutes from our meeting of December 1st, and I have not heard any changes or corrections to those. Are there any now? If so, please speak up. Hearing none, I'd like to have a consent to move these forward to being accepted. Please.
This is Kathy. I so move. Kathy, I so move.
Thank you,
This is
Kathy.
Lou, I second.
Thank you. Do I have full consent?
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So the minutes from December 1st have been approved. I'm going to turn the meeting over now to our CFO, Pete Finelli, to present the financials for the month of November.
Thank you, Ann, and hope everybody's having a good day. I appreciate it. The financials was a kind of a good, bad, good scenario for November. I'll start with kind of the top part of the balance of the income statement. This was our bad section, so to speak. You'll notice that almost scenario for November, our revenue centers had negative variances. Some are very obvious, and I'll take a quick moment to explain each one. But these revenue shortfalls are somewhat to be anticipated, and sadly, they're probably also to be anticipated as we roll into some of the new year when some of these numbers become rather significant. So just kind of a discussion when we get onto the year to date or where we stand. But of course, in membership, we're solid on our associate members and owner members fees. Where we're getting shortfalls, of course, is in our guest fees, tenant fees, landlord fees, anything associated with the restrictions that we have. We are seeing favorable variances in our transfer fees with so many of the inquiries for our home ownerships and things like that. On recreation, this is where hall rentals, tours, explore, obviously we know all of those have been muted by our restrictions, so that is somewhat to be expected. Golf fees was the first time in the 5 months of the current fiscal year where we had a shortfall. We actually are up in rounds, but a deeper dive into it, part of this had to do some course closures, but we're seeing a more play by our residents and not as much by outside play or guest fees, guest green fees. So again, I don't want to be alarmist. It's the first month this has happened, but we'll have to keep our eye on it because we have been counting on, as you look out to the right, we have been counting on golf fees offsetting some of these deficits year to date. The sports pavilion is obvious, but bowling with its lane restrictions and cleaning components is certainly detracting some of their revenues. Special events, obviously no revenues or events revenues. We did have an actual negative amount for the current month. Some might not understand why that would be, but that's when we close out events, even if they occurred back in March, April, May of last year when we were issuing tickets. Once we close those out, we then apply either a positive or negative to the net revenue. So that's why that is. again, a slight positive in cart rentals, in range balls, within cell towers, within the ancillary revenue, so that's good. I expect that to hold up. And then with the access restrictions to our pro shops and other things for merchandise and food and beverage, deficits are expected and can be quite material at times. So obviously a negative 188 on the net revenues. So to move to the positive side of my good, bad, good, is that in the expense management, some of this is openings, especially in labor within some of our openings in certain sections of our employment, plus overtime was expected to be significantly higher in our budgeting, and they really maintained a pretty good hold on that usage during the.
This call is being recorded.
So the rest of them are relatively immaterial, but after labor, so almost an entire offset to our revenue shortfall of 188 grand of operating expense favorable, netted us 141 short of our budget. But considering where those revenues were, I was pleased on the expense management. Moving down to capital related, very good news, of course, within our investments. As you can see, the realized and unrealized was a favorable $1.1 million posted, almost $1.2 million.
Harry, you are not muted, so if you go to the bottom of your screen and just touch, there's a mute button there.
Got it.
Very good. It's a small variance, but I just wanted to point out one thing on our investment income. The bond yields, due to the diversification into a lot of long-term, which is still generating in the 2+% range, as well as some of the intermediate bonds. We had an overall, still really rough extrapolation, but about almost 1.9, close to 2% yield on our investments. So that's holding up very well, especially against some of the what-if projections I had been doing. APF's down below 472 versus 322, 135 net APF collections, so very strong month. There's a graph within this report that if you ever want to take a look at November as just spiking out way ahead of anything even close to it in prior years. So capital related, and depreciation is favorable due to timing of some of the big projects rolling forward. So overall capital related, a $1.372 million favorable variance, and with the virtual break even on the operating, that 1.4 million or so was a good November for us. So go to the year to date, almost identical. On the revenues, the 188,000 shortfall is almost entirely associated with November. So excess, like I said, in golf and ancillary has carried neutrality to date with some of the expected shortfalls.
Please enter your ID and press the pound key.
So net revenues down into the expense management for all the reasons I kind of mentioned before.
You will now be placed in the conference. This call is being recorded.
Very good. So on our expense management, 870,000 favorable variance, mostly again in labor, utilities with some of the closures and energy conservation efforts in the past for LED conversions. Less usage of our equipment is resulting in less repairs on rolling stock on the courses and equipment within our rec centers. We did talk about landscape maintenance is a negative variance. This year was a very difficult transition. According to Todd Patty, it resulted in a lot more chemicals and seed usage and things like that to germinate. And of course, with the closures, supplies, as you'd expect, equipment, we're being very judicious on what we buy on that as well with some of the closures, some of the things that we budgeted for rec center, smaller dollar equipment is either been in delay or elimination mode, and most of the rest of the ones are down below are relatively immaterial. We again, we note all of these, or at least the vast majority of the high dollar variances within our notes, within the financial reports that we publish after the governing board has approved it. And year to date on capital related, again, the big variance is favorable of 1.7 million year to date in our realized and unrealized gains. Asset preservation's a little under $250,000, and gain on loss is a timing issue, and a lot of those things happen once once projects are completed, and with delays, some of those have not come to fruition yet, and depreciation for the same reason, delay. So as we exit out of November year to date, 2.9 million total, 682 on the operating. Again, I point out that while these are favorable, especially in the operating, we do face some headwinds that we'll be doing our best to manage from the expense side and do whatever we can, or maybe the vaccine will permit some openings, but none of that is on the horizon as yet. So that's it. Any questions?
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
I can.
Can anyone?
Lou.
Okay, thank you. This is Ann. Pete, I guess I'm probably of the opinion that I'm not sure we're going to be able to do much in the way of special events the rest of the year. And also some of these other things, I'm concerned that maybe with fewer people coming, I know a lot of Canadians will not be coming in this year, will not be paying some of those fees if they are tenants. Have you looked at any projections based on what we're seeing right now, where some of that revenue just isn't going to happen?
Yes, I have. Probably let's take each one. Special events has $50,000 months in both February and March. And so, unless things change rapidly, I just don't see that happening. That'll be almost a guaranteed one. Bowling has as much as $80,000 revenue at their peak season in January, February, March. We're running right now a little better, according to Barry at the last Monday's meeting. We're running about 30% shortfalls, which is still significant, but earlier in the year they were as much as 60%. So they're biting a little bit into their deficit. The newest one, so to speak, from my announcement to the group is tenant fees. It doesn't mean it's an absolute, but we have every January, people come in either by 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months. The most onerous month therefore is January, and that has almost a $90,000 net revenue expectation. Right now, we've been running at a $20,000 clip. I do think that some of those will still be there, but I think we have to anticipate at least a $40,000 or $50,000 shortfall on that to be expected. And then February and March get a little bit less, but they're still there. And of course, lastly, guest fees are as much as $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in some of our peak months. So these all add up to probably a good $200,000. I wouldn't be surprised if we see net revenue shortfalls. On a positive side, the golf revenues have been holding up. I don't see us necessarily with absoluteness going to tee times with crossovers or any things that maximize our tee times, but I'm pretty optimistic with all the usage that we're going to probably have with golf's just its popularity right now. I'd be very shocked that we don't hit our numbers on that. Yeah.
I'd like to hear from other committee members with their questions. Lou, I'll start with you. Do you have questions?
No, excuse me. No, I don't. It is what it is. Certainly, there's going to be some revenue shortfalls. At this point, I think Pete has a pretty good handle on it. If you look at his worksheets, which he has shared with the subcommittee, he builds all of this in. At this point, I guess it's just wait and see. So my comments are, it is what it is, and we have to deal with it.
Thank you, Lou. Harry?
I agree with Lou. I think, in these trying times, we just have to keep our things buttoned up and realize there's going to be changes. One thing that when I looked at it amazed me is when you look at the month, how much difference there was in golf revenue for the month of November over the previous year, which says that that's going along. And I don't know whether we could keep that up or not going into the future years, because there was a lot of golfers in this short days. So I think we, as Lou said, we just have to roll with it and see what happens.
Thank you. Lisa?
Ann, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I agree with Harry and Lou, both of them. Unfortunately, I think the circumstances are what they are. I am a little concerned though about the golf, although I don't think there's much we can do about it, and we just have to see what happens as the vaccine continues to roll along.
Are you still there, Lisa?
Yeah, I'm here. Were you
Okay.
able to? Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Terry?
Yeah, I just have a question for Pete. On the cash and investment balances, again, I realize it's just a snapshot at the last day of the month, but there's, under cash and cash equivalents, there's nearly $7 million. Is that all at Chase?
It is. That's our operating account. We use that, of course, for all the capital purchases, which can be considerable until the end of the year when we transfer the dollars between the two accounts. We use it for payroll. That's $500,000 each. 2 weeks.
That's fine, Pete. I get it. Is there a sweep attached to it, or is it just $7 million sitting at Chase?
No, we actually do everything through wire transfers for about 98% of our vendors. Checks are also issued for those that don't have that technology, but it's part of our. I think I understood it to be some concern about FDIC
Right.
coverage. I really did search diligently. I checked every BNF from like June of last year, but I could not find where in the minutes, so I'm going to have to kind of ask the chairs of those time periods, whether it was Jerry Connor or Jim Young. This issue was brought up that the management, if you will, of the operating account just makes it very, very, very difficult to be moving dollars in and out of CDs and other, protected FDIC instruments. And the Budget and Finance, by I believe in unanimous consensus, said that the strength, so to speak, of J.P. Morgan / Chase is ample grounds for us to continue to operate that. As we're now tapping into some of the reserve fund laddering or putting CDs out into easily manage the done through one managed investment firm. If they can actually do that, then I'd like to maybe deploy that on some of the unused dollars that we're operating as well. We usually have a floor of about 4 million when we're in our darkest months of the financial statement, July and August, and we get up to usually around 10 million. So it does have more fluctuation than you'd think. But
Yeah,
if we want to go there, but I would say one thing is these dollars are not earning nothing. We don't see it in interest or any kind of dividend or anything, but what we do get is a credit on our monthly fees from Chase. And I did some quick numbers with Tim, D'Angelo, and we get as much as $2,500 to almost $3,000 a month credit on our fees. So a quick snapshot of that, or 40,000 means we're still earning about at least a half, if not close to 1%. So it's not just sitting idly. And in fact, those are outpacing what you get on the CDs right now. If you were to, but I think you're asking about protection, and that's something that if you want to discuss it more, then but it was permitted to be in one account for no other reason other than that.
yeah, I understand that, we got to operate, and you need, millions of dollars in accounts to move money around. It just, again, I've worked in that business. There's ways to attach sweeps to your accounts, and the accounts are basically ZBAs, and they sweep every night, and you can write checks. The accounts operate the same. It's just you sweep them over to an investment account. Again, you would lose your credit on your account analysis, but then the millions of dollars could be invested. And I guess my other question, and I'd be happy to sit down with you or Tim, and we could talk about it. But I guess my other concern was, is there a $3 million CD at Chase as well?
JP Morgan as part of the reserve funds, yes.
Okay, it just seems in our new program of safety, it just seems like we put $3 million more into Chase. So I realize they're not going anywhere tomorrow, but I don't know. I would think that we could put the $3 million someplace else and kind of diversify it a little bit.
Yeah, I believe that. As soon as we're done here, I think we go into the subcommittee's updates. We all agree that that laddering or the diversification of those reserve funds is front and center right now. I agree. I would tell you, we did look into the zero-based sweep. It had an appeal, and we were about ready to pull the trigger because it was earning like a 1.4% when we were exploring it last fall. But then now that the rates have dropped, we're finding that the credit on our fees far outweighs the value that we get on a sweep at 0.2 is what the bank's about a maximum they're going to pay on any kind of overnight sweep. And so It almost moved to a favorable variance. I'm glad in a way we didn't go there. That was fortuitous that we didn't lock up a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I assume that their daily sweeps rate is 2 basis points or something. It's probably ridiculous, but if you want, I'm happy to sit down and take a look at your account analysis statement, and I can make some suggestions, but it's completely up to you.
That's stuff we'll talk for sure.
Okay, thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Terry. Your questions, comments? John, can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I didn't catch the name. I'm sorry. That's why I didn't.
Oh, that's okay, John.
My comments are going to be much in line probably with the other ones you've heard, so I'll be brief. First of all, the shortfalls are as loose as they are what they are on the budget. However, when I look at those and the significant offset in there on the wage control, wages and other expenses. My hat goes off to staff for being so reactive and having a culture of cost control. And I think that's going to be one of our saving graces for the year remaining. I don't sense that the shortfalls in the operating budget are going to be significant enough to have any impact on our capital plans for the remainder of this year. And I would like to ask Pete to comment on my comments. Other than that, that's it from me.
Well,
Thank you, John.
I'm very comfortable at this juncture, and you'll hear this for any that go to the final of the governing board meeting on Thursday. This question has been percolating: is if we do get shortfalls, would we still have the deferred capital offset if in fact things went south? And the answer is yes. I think there's a little bit of misunderstanding. When we were asking for the deferred, it was to remove the asterisk, if you will, from our ability to do purchase orders on any of these. But there isn't going to be this massive wave that hits in January of expenditures. I've only got two that I'm aware of, and that was for the miniature golf, because the timing of the year is optimum to put down the carpet, and to execute a contract for the Brunswick scoring system. And the scoring system actually, it just gets us in the queue for the installation. It won't really actually occur until May or June. I'd argue that one's very necessary, given that we've had a lot of breakdowns and it's a revenue production. We don't want to mess with that. But the other 1.5 million or so is in, a lot of it's going to be in May, April, and June still. So just because we're asking for the approval doesn't mean we're going to run out. That would be our most heavy dollar offset if it was necessary.
Pete, thank you for
Pete.
on those points. I'm pretty comfortable with everything else, Han.
Thank you, John. Kathy.
Nope, I have no questions or comments. I think we've covered it.
Well, Pete, thank you for your presentation. Well, you may not be done. You may want to go ahead and move on to the balance sheet and the rest of it. But I think so far you've given us an accurate a picture of where we are. It is, as Lou says, it is what it is. There's so many circumstances that are not control, but I echo John's statements about the way the staff has been keeping the operating expenses in line. I think to have a variance for the month on operating revenue and operating expenses of $141 is nothing short of miraculous. And that just speaks to obviously some really diligent performance by the staff. So I hope you will pass that on to them.
I will. Thank you.
Pete, you go ahead and finish your presentation.
Generally speaking, I don't bring a lot of discussion to those cash flows or the reserve funds or the balance sheet. But if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. I really have nothing of any note.
This is
okay. Any questions? I can't see you all, so I don't know if you're shaking your heads. If anybody has any comments, speak up now. If not, we're going to go ahead and
this is Lou, no questions.
Move on to what's that?
This is Lou, no questions.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the FI subcommittee. By the way, do I have? I better go back. One last thing I have to do is to have consensus with the group to accept the November 2020 financials as filed.
I accept.
Accept.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you.
No, that was
Terry,
Kathy.
accept.
That was Kathy that accepted, and this is Lisa.
Kathy,
but
I'm sorry.
It's okay,
you
but this is
sounded like
Lisa.
Lisa.
And I accept.
Thank you.
This is Terry, I accept.
This is Terry, I accept.
Thank you, Terry.
Lou, I accept.
Thank you, Lou.
John accepts.
Harry. John accepts. Harry, you're the last one. Harry,
I
can
accept.
Harry hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you, Harry.
I accept. I had to unmute myself.
Thank
I
you.
accept.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and move on to 3.02 on the agenda, which is the FY12 subcommittee findings. So I'm going to turn this over to Lou, John, and Terry, and let you all give your presentation. Thank you.
And I believe I was asked to take this. So if you would be so kind and bear with me. The subcommittee has met, and via direction from you, we are focused on the financial advisor and the RFQ. So the committee has drafted an RFQ. At this point, it's the first draft, and we'll be meeting on Thursday to have further review of the RFQ that we have developed. The items that will be in there regarding the financial advisor, these are the key points. The keeper of the securities to provide advice, reporting, including customized reports, compliance with policy, benchmarking, rating of securities, yield of securities, the percentages, and any significant changes in the ratings of securities. Also, the responsibility of the financial advisor will be obviously the execution of purchases and sales of securities and to make limited changes to the portfolio. Note that part of the RFQ does say that no purchase can be executed without the written approval of management. So that's pretty much where we are. We've not moved further on, and I don't know whether the committee is aware, I did send out a pretty aggressive agenda. When Ann reviewed it, she wanted us to focus primarily on getting a financial advisor on board, which will meet the requirements of the bylaws. And that's it.
Well, I first of all, I want to thank this group for all that they're doing. It's just amazing how quickly you have moved forward with this. But truly, until we have a professional investment advisor, I think anything else you would be doing might be spinning your wheels. And I don't like to see anybody focusing their efforts on something that may or may not be pertinent to the final product. So with that, I just want to say you all have done a lot of work, and I appreciated the structure you're putting together for the RFQ. I did have one question on this. Was you had on there the need for liquidation will never be more than 90 days.
Correct.
I question. I'm going to put this out to Pete or Bill or both. I don't know. Can you ever imagine a time when we would need under 90 days for the liquidation?
No, I don't. I believe that, correct me, gentlemen, I think that was designed more to reduce some of the volatility. One quick thing on the timing. It wasn't, Lou, you did great on the summary. The 90-10 modification to our portfolio has brought a lot of stability to our portfolio swings. And that's had a lot of side benefit, which we talked about in the past, especially in the what-if modeling or freeing up, capital spend. But from a standpoint of the bond diversification, that's why I was kind of talking a little bit earlier that we've got within Vanguard a nice divestiture of the 90%, up to including some of the things that the expectation from the RFQ is going to ask for, which is to say, hey, investment advisor, how do you broaden our 90% non-equities, CDs, corporate bonds, treasuries, and all of the other, those safe, so to speak, instruments. Many of those are parked already within our Vanguard portfolio. A lot of people don't know that. But the long-term, short-term, intermediate bonds, there's corporate bonds in there, there's treasury bonds. So we actually are more diversified within our Vanguard portfolio than a lot of people probably already do. But no, but we are targeting that. I believe that, we're well positioned to do this investment advisor timely and with, the help of the committee to get a good feel for who's going to be the best advisor for all the purposes that Lou mentioned.
And
Okay.
if I can
I
just
understand then you think, yes, go ahead, Lou.
Because the committee is sort of blind to this, if you will, in that, we're talking about something and they probably have no vision as to what it is. So the first draft has been done. We're meeting on this Thursday to, I would say, and I think the committee, I hope the committee agrees with me, to do the final draft. At that point, we will present it to BNF, to you, of course, first, and then to BNF for their review. So I don't want to get the cart before the horse. Just know that this is in the works. We should have a final draft very shortly. And at that point, we'll pass it to you and the BNF for their review, comments, any add, deletes, changes, yada, yada, yada. So that's all I have to say on that. Thank you.
What wonderful, Pete or Lou. I really am just awed by how quickly you all have done this and how much work has gone into it, because I know it has been a lot of work. The meetings have not been short, and there's been a lot to discuss. And just a heads up, I will need at least one of you at the governing board or the workshop whenever this goes forward to them. So just know that's going to come up down the line. I'd like to go ahead and ask other members of the committee who have not been directly involved in this for any of their questions or comments. So I'm going to start with Lisa. Is Lisa? Thank you.
And can you come back to me, please?
Yes, I can, Lisa. Kathy.
No, I have no comments. I know how difficult this stuff is to put together, and I really appreciate their work and keep forging forward.
Thank you. Harry. Harry, are you unmuted?
I thought I was, but I'm not. Okay, there. I hate these machines. I agree. We've done a great job, and we'll just go forward and wait till we get the report.
Thank you. Lisa, you're up again.
Thank you, Ann. I appreciate it. Sorry about that. And you know where my dilemma is this morning, so I apologize for
Yes.
asking you to have to come back. I'd like to say thank you first to the subcommittee. You guys have done an outstanding job in getting us to this point. Your efforts are just to be commended. I look forward to seeing the final RFQ that you put together, and in the timing of this, you guys are just, it's amazing how quickly you have worked, and thank you for all of your efforts. And I, for one, really appreciate it because I think Harry will agree with this too. Having thrown my hat in the ring for governing board, this is something that we keep getting hammered on when people say, find out that you're running for governing board, they want to talk about this. So thank you for that. And appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you. All I can say is good luck going forward, you gentlemen, and look forward to hearing your next report, which I think will be at our meeting on the 5th of January. So thank you. We're going to move on to item 3.03, which is an update on our capital that we receive monthly from our CFO, Pete Finelli.
Yeah, this is going to be really abbreviated. If you'll slide it down, 80, or yeah, thank you. Our capital allotment, 5.9 million. Right now, we've issued just under 3 million of POs. $500,000 was on prior year encumbrances, and the 2.5 on current year budget items. Actually, closed purchase orders moved up a little bit more. We added to our savings. Last period it was like 175, so we've added more savings on a 1.3 million, closed out account. So we're sitting good on that for end of year. These are items that are not in the they weren't in the deferred list. We just haven't acted on them for a variety of reasons, but that's just more of an FYI. And then lastly, this again was a listing of the deferred capital, so no change from that. I think I kept that one in from last period's update. But and then sorry about the budge on the. I guess I didn't spell check properly, but this is our allowances, 435,000 in various areas such as safety, equipment, energy conservation, blah blah blah. We've made 161,000 of POs. We still have 274, or well over half for the remaining 6 months. So sitting pretty good on that too. Any questions?
Thank you. I'm going to go around and just ask each person for questions. John Hobold, I'll start with you.
I have no questions. Good presentation.
Thank you. Harry, you'll have to unmute. Harry. There you go.
No questions.
Thank you. Lisa.
No questions. Thank you for the report.
Kathy.
No questions.
Terry.
No questions. Thank Pete for the report.
Lou.
No questions, Pete. As always, good job.
Thank you, Pete. We appreciate that update. We're going to move on to item 3.04, which is our annual work comp premium presentation by CFO Pete.
Verbal only, Ann, but good news. Work comp premium, or excuse me, the three insurances, property casualty, work comp, and health insurance are requested within one of the policies to be brought forward to the B&F. Technically, there is no approval mechanism in it, and I think you'll be pleased to hear that the work comp, 138,000 premium from prior year is 140,000. So well within normal inflation, and we're sitting good.
That's excellent news. I'm glad to see that we've been able to hold that down to a very, very small percentage of increase. I'm going to go around and again and ask if anyone has any questions, Pete, on this. I'll start with Kathy.
No questions.
Thank you. Terry.
Was that Terry or
Terry's
Harry?
still on? I don't. Either somebody speak up.
This
I don't
is Harry.
hear Terry
Okay.
at the moment.
Harry
Okay,
is okay.
thank you. Thank you, Harry. Terry, are you still there?
Yes, no questions.
Thank you. Lisa.
No questions.
Thank you. Lou
No questions.
and John.
No questions.
Thank you very much, Pete. I appreciate you bringing us up to date on that. Now we're just going to see if anybody on the committee has any comments in general. So I'll just go around again. Lou, I'll start with you.
I have no further comments. I thank everybody for their diligence in using this technology.
I echo that comment. Harry, unmute. Do you have any comments? You're still muted, Harry. Harry, you're still muted.
Oh. There, it should be unmuted now. No questions, just a great job to Pete and a great job to the committee, and I think everything's going in the right direction.
Thank you. Lisa.
No questions, and thank you to Pete and staff for once again putting together the reports, and to Katie for putting this virtual meeting together for us so quickly. I appreciate that.
I echo that comment. Terry?
No questions. Thank you.
John?
No questions.
And Kathy?
Yes, I thank everybody, and I hope everybody has a happy holiday, and hopefully the staff will get some time off. Thanks.
Thanks to all of you. Do we have any remote guest comments? Katie?
No, nobody has written in.
Very good. I want to thank all of you committee members for bearing with us as we did this Zoom meeting. We're doing what we think is the socially correct thing to do in these times, and I know it's not the best way to meet. I miss the fact that we can sometimes do some nonverbal communication, which is always preferable. I couldn't even get my video on. I'm going to have to make an appointment with Katie and figure some of this out myself. But I really appreciate all of you. I want to wish all of you and your families a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Our next meeting date will be January 5th, 2021. It is currently scheduled for 9 a.m. in the Social Hall West. And if we need to change that, I will try to let you know the week before. I also want to tell you, if you have anything for an agenda, the sooner you can get it to me, the better, because Karen Repkin, our executive assistant, is really wanting to take a few days off between Christmas and New Year's. And she has certainly earned every bit of that. So I'm going to try to be helpful to her in getting an agenda together early. But with no further comments, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much.
Call recording is off.